Hi, guys. I want to take a quick minute to talk just really briefly about the rebound effect and why it's important in terms of mental health. So, people think that because I'm a therapist, that automatically that means I'm against taking medications, or sometimes I think it means I'm all for taking medications, or that I'm totally against, any drugs whatsoever. And the reality is, I'm not a total prude, but and I do believe that there are times when medications can be hugely helpful for people. And if something is going to be helpful without being hurtful, well then why not let it help? The, I think the issue is that some people think that something is only helpful and they don't realize how it could be hurtful. And the rebound effect is one of those scenarios. And I think it's just really important that you understand what that is if you don't already, and how it could be affecting your own mental health and what you can do about it. So, the rebound effect is, I use the analogy of a child that is trying to convince mom or dad to give them something that they want. So, when a child wants something, it's going to start out with a gentle little tug at the pant leg, or a sweet little mommy, daddy, can I please? And then if the answer is no, eventually, it's going to end up escalating where the kid is getting louder, is pleading, is begging, is making deals, bargaining, threatening. If you don't, I'm gonna, I don't know, call Child Protective Services or whatever. Um, and then it ends up being like belly on the floor, tantrum, kicking and screaming. And eventually, along the way, often the parent says, fine, you can have it. And at that moment, the kid has learned that when my voice gets to this level, or when I've done uh, this behavior for X amount of time, or when I say just that right thing, or when I've asked on the 10th time, whatever it is, the kid learns at what point mom or dad will give the child what the child wants. So the brain is a lot like that when it comes to mood altering substances, whether it's Xanax, marijuana, alcohol, cigarettes, whatever it is. If it alters your mood, then what happens is, even if you're not addicted to the drug, even if you're not considered, dependent on it, there's times when the brain will want it. And so maybe let's use the example of Xanax to help you sleep at night, something that I hear a bit. And so if during the day you've had a moment where it was really stressful and you think to yourself, it would be really nice to take a Xanax right now, and then you stop yourself and you say, no, I'm not going to take a Xanax right now. I only take it at bedtime when I'm having trouble sleeping. Then eventually people start to realize that it's getting harder and harder to fall asleep naturally without the Xanax. And then beyond that, people start to realize, I'm needing maybe, a whole Xanax instead of just a half anymore to help me sleep, and a half always used to do the trick. Or I sleep okay, but then for some stupid reason, I'm waking up at 3 in the morning and I can't go back to sleep. And the reason for that is the brain is going, well, look at that. I want Xanax, and she's sound asleep. And she only takes Xanax when she's awake and can't sleep at a time when she should be sleeping. Is that abuse? No. You're using it as directed. You're taking it for sleep only when you can't sleep. And you're not taking more than what the doctor said. But then why the heck is your sleep getting worse? Because when you're asleep, the brain says, I want Xanax. Wake her up. And when you're awake at 3 in the morning and you can't sleep and you try to go back to sleep and you can't, people tend to go back to the bottle and take another half a Xanax or another Xanax. The same is true for rage. Rage and anxiety are big things that people say that they smoke marijuana for. And I totally get that, put aside political thoughts and opinions about marijuana. I get that there are some things that marijuana helps with. And when I work with somebody for anger management or for anxiety management, and their anger or anxiety or their rage is getting more frequent or more intense, and they're smoking pot, I'm going to really push for them to stop smoking the freaking pot, because what's happening is the brain is saying, I want marijuana, and I know I only get it when he or she goes into a rage, he or she goes into a panic. And so, even though there's really nothing to be pissed about or anxious about, bring on the rage, bring on the panic, because I want pot, and that's how I get it. That's the button to push. So, it has nothing to do with this thing that I'm talking about right now, has nothing to do with whether I think drugs are bad, whether I'm a therapist or I'm a prude and I'm going to be against everything, um, whether I think you're addicted or dependent. It's not about that. It's about you doing something that, unbeknownst to you, is actually making things worse when you thought you were doing it to make things better. I smoke because it helps my anxiety. I smoke because it helps me not rage. And then you wonder why the anxiety and the rage seems to be worse. Give that a whole lot of thought. Talk with your doctor about getting off of the mood altering substances if you're taking them other than as prescribed, or if you're taking them as prescribed, but it seems to be getting worse and not better. If it's not helping you and you're feeling worse, talk with your doctor. And even if the mood altering substance is an illegal substance, I highly encourage you to talk with your doctor. Let your doctor know, this is what I'm doing. I'm feeling crappy. Help me get off of this, doc. It might entail some stuff that you don't really want to do, but maybe it won't. Maybe it won't be as bad as it seems. Either way, this isn't a judgment about addiction. This isn't a judgment about anything other than the rebound effect and how taking something that is intended to help you, actually, even when you're not addicted, can make you feel worse. The brain wants the drug and it knows what it needs to do to get it. Take care. Be well.